Imagine spending like 20 years building this elite, completely bulletproof professional reputation.
Right, the kind that takes decades.
Exactly. I mean, you've won the biggest cases, you've secured these incredibly complex mergers, and your name just commands absolute respect in the industry.
The absolute gold standard.
Yeah. And then you basically just watch that entire 2-decade legacy completely evaporate in like 20 minutes.
Wow.
All because, a junior paralegal was just trying to save a little bit of time on a Tuesday afternoon.
It is, I mean, it is a terrifying scenario.
Hmm.
And to be honest, the most alarming part is just how commonplace that specific vulnerability has become.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Right. We are no longer talking about, like, hypothetical risks here.
Yeah.
This is the actual reality of the landscape we are operating in right now.
So today we are pulling from this really fascinating stack of excerpts from a piece of research called The Digital Architecture of Legal Excellence.
It's a great read.
It really is. And our mission in this deep dive is to explore how the entire traditional image of, well, what makes a successful professional has been totally upended.
Completely flipped on its head.
Yeah. So the core premise we're looking at is that in 2026, a legal brand, or really any high-level professional brand for that
Yeah.
matter, is no longer just built in some mahogany boardroom.
Right, or over an expensive steak dinner.
Exactly. It is built, or it is entirely broken, by the digital experience that you provide to your clients.
And the sources map out this just profound shift. I mean, you could be the absolute most brilliant legal strategist in the world, right?
Sure.
But if your clients are constantly squinting at these, like, non-responsive PDFs on their phones,
No, I hate that.
right, or if you're running your practice on this patchwork quilt of just disconnected, clunky software,
Yeah.
a massive disconnect forms.
A huge gap.
Exactly. It's the gap between the elite service provider you actually are and the disorganized, sort of outdated provider the client perceives you to be.
Okay, let's unpack this because I want you to visualize what this actually feels like from the client's perspective.
Yeah, put yourself in their shoes.
Right. So imagine you have secured a reservation at a 3 Michelin-star restaurant.
Oh, nice.
You have literally waited 6 months for this table, right? The chef is a visionary. The ingredients are incredibly rare. The culinary technique is just flawless.
Sounds perfect.
But, and here's the catch, when the food finally arrives at your table, this absolute masterpiece of a meal is served to you on a soggy, flimsy, dripping paper plate.
Oh, man. What's fascinating here is the psychology behind that client perception.
Yeah.
Because think about it, the food itself is still Michelin quality, right?
Technically, yeah.
The underlying legal work is still elite.
Hmm.
But the delivery mechanism completely ruins the entire experience.
It totally taints it.
Exactly. When a client hires a premium professional, they aren't just paying for the raw intellectual output.
Right.
They are paying for an experience of, like, total competence. They are paying to feel completely taken care of.
Yeah, they want that white glove service.
Right. So when the digital interface is clunky-like, when they have to wait 3 days for a really simple status update just because your internal systems don't talk to each other, it creates this immediate cognitive dissonance.
The client just starts to wonder, consciously or even subconsciously, if this firm is this disorganized with a simple email attachment, how organized are they with my multi-million-dollar litigation?
Exactly. It breeds doubt instantly.
Yay! I mean, the digital interface is very often the only window the client actually has into your internal operations. If that window is dirty, they naturally just assume the whole house is a complete mess.
And beyond just the aesthetics of a dirty window, right, the source material pivots to a threat that goes far beyond just a mere brand annoyance.
Oh, we're talking about the big stuff now.
Yeah, we're talking about bad tech habits acting as a catastrophic reputation killer.
Right.
Cyber threats against law firms are hitting record highs this year, simply because law firms are these absolute treasure troves of sensitive, consolidated data.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, we are talking about unpatented intellectual property, unannounced merger details, deep personal liabilities.
Which brings us right back to that 20-minute reputation killer we opened with. The texts point out that the most pressing threat right now isn't necessarily, some shadowy hacker breaking through a firewall in a hoodie.
No, it's not.
It's an internal phenomenon that the authors call shadow AI.
Right. So shadow IT is a concept we've known for a while, right?
Sure.
Employees using unapproved software to just get their jobs done.
Like using a personal Dropbox or something.
Exactly. But shadow AI is the 2026 evolution of that, and it is vastly more dangerous.
How so?
Well, this happens when staff members take highly sensitive client data and inadvertently feed it into unapproved, public-facing generative AI models.
See, I have a really hard time believing elite lawyers are just like carelessly throwing multi-million-dollar secrets into a public chatbot.
Sounds crazy, right?
It does. Like, are they just ignoring IT protocols out of pure laziness, or is there something malicious happening here?
Honestly, it is almost entirely a systemic failure, driven by just the intense pressure to be efficient.
Ah.
Think about the environment. You have these junior associates or paralegals who are buried under tens of thousands of pages of discovery.
Right, they're drowning in paperwork.
They are exhausted. And they know that a public AI tool can summarize a dense 500-page deposition in like 10 seconds.
Right, a task that would otherwise take them, what, 10 hours of manual reading?
Exactly. Their intention is actually to do good work faster.
Mm-hmm.
But the mechanism of how public AI works is the trap.
Let's actually break that mechanism down, because I think a lot of people misunderstand what actually happens when you type into a public prompt box.
Yeah, they really do.
When you paste a confidential merger detail into a public AI, you aren't just running a private search query like on Google.
Yep.
You are actively feeding the machine. That highly sensitive data literally becomes a permanent puzzle piece in the AI's training memory.
Precisely. The AI learns from your prompt.
Which is terrifying.
It is, because it means there's a very real possibility that it might accidentally regurgitate that exact merger detail to a competitor who just happens to ask a cleverly phrased question next week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The data leak isn't a hack, it's a donation.
A donation, that's a great way to put it.
If a firm doesn't provide a secure, officially sanctioned tool, the staff will inevitably find their own workarounds because the pressure to deliver results is just so overwhelmingly high.
But the solution outlined in the sources isn't to just ban AI entirely, right? I mean, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
No, that ship has sailed.
Right. So the fix is actually investing in legal-specific AI ecosystems that provide what the industry calls a walled garden.
Yes, the walled garden. That is the absolute gold standard for 2026.
Break that down for us.
It refers to an AI infrastructure where you have a contractual and, frankly, computational guarantee that the data being processed never, ever leaves your secure, encrypted environment. It does not get used to train public models. It does not get shared with a vendor. It stays strictly within the walls of your firm.
And from a branding perspective, the power of that is immense. The text emphasizes that when you can sit across from a CEO and just look them in the eye and say, your data never leaves our secure, encrypted environment, you are no longer just rattling off IT specifications.
Right.
You are selling absolute peace of mind.
Exactly. Security has elevated from an IT issue that basically just lives in the basement with the servers, right?
Yeah.
To a premier brand pillar. For high-stakes clients, knowing their deepest corporate secrets are computationally locked down is honestly just as critical as winning the case itself.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Let's say a firm has achieved this, right?
Okay.
They have the secure, walled garden AI. They are summarizing 500-page depositions in 10 seconds instead of 10 hours.
They're flying.
Right. They have completely solved their security problem, but they have just created a massive billing problem. Because for a century, the entire legal business model has been built on the billable hour. If the AI does the heavy lifting instantly, how on earth does the firm justify its invoices?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the most profound psychological shift required of the modern legal profession.
Tell me more.
The sources highlight that general counsels, who are, the primary decision makers hiring these large corporate law firms, they are under immense pressure from their own boards to show return on investment.
Right.
And because of that, they are highly skeptical of massive bills for what they now consider routine manual labor.
Let's use an analogy to look at how we value professional services today.
Okay, I love analogies.
So imagine you are in a new city and you need to get across town.
Okay.
You hail a taxi, and almost immediately you are stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic.
Yeah, the worst.
Right. You're sitting in the back seat, just watching those red numbers on the meter tick up, and you are not moving an inch.
So frustrating.
You are paying heavily for the driver's time, but you are paying absolutely nothing for actual progress.
Exactly.
Now contrast that with buying a flat-rate ticket for a high-speed bullet train. You get to your exact destination in a fraction of the time for a known fixed price. Why on earth would any modern client choose the traffic jam just because the driver was, working really hard, sitting behind the wheel?
They wouldn't. The old model of billing manual hours for basic document assembly or like early stage discovery
Hmm.
is exactly the taxi in traffic.
Right.
The texts argue forcefully that presenting a client with a 40-hour bill for document formatting just doesn't make a firm look thorough anymore.
It really doesn't.
It makes them look embarrassingly antiquated.
Yeah.
Lawyers have to completely shift the narrative from, look how long it took me to do this, to, look how much value I created for you in this precise moment.
And the key to making that leap is automating what the authors affectionately call the donkey work.
Oh, I love that term.
Me too. It just perfectly captures that heavy, slow, plodding, unglamorous labor.
Exactly. When a firm utilizes its secure AI stack to instantly map out these complex case timelines, or, say, conduct sentiment analysis on millions of internal corporate emails to find exactly who was angry and when.
Which is incredible.
Right, and they do it in hours rather than weeks. Their relationship with the client fundamentally transforms.
Yeah.
They transition from being a slow-moving cost center to being a high-speed strategic partner.
It is basically the difference between paying a carpenter an hourly rate to build a chessboard versus paying a grandmaster to actually sit down, analyze the board, and win the game for you.
Perfect analogy.
Clients are absolutely willing to pay premium rates for the grandmaster's strategy. They are completely done paying premium rates for the carpenter.
Right. The real value is in the interpretation of the data, not just the gathering of it.
Exactly.
But, and this is crucial, even if the internal work is happening at the speed of a bullet train, the sources point out another massive vulnerability. Speed and brilliant strategy mean absolutely nothing if the physical way the client interacts with that work is full of friction.
Yes. We have to talk about the Amazon Prime client journey.
It's unavoidable.
The texts state point blank that clients in 2026 have Amazon Prime expectations, and honestly, it makes perfect sense.
It really does.
Think about your own daily life. When you buy a $10 phone case online, you expect a perfectly frictionless, transparent digital experience.
Yeah, you know exactly when it left the warehouse.
Exactly. You can watch the delivery truck on a live digital map and you know the exact minute it will arrive on your porch. So why wouldn't a client demand that exact same level of transparency and ease when they're spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a critical legal defense?
The expectation gap there is staggering.
It's massive.
The sources identify some glaring red flags that immediately tell a client they are dealing with a dinosaur.
Like what?
For instance, if a client has to physically call a legal assistant during business hours just to get a copy of a motion that was filed on their behalf.
Oh, that's bad.
Right. Or perhaps the most infuriating example, having to repeat background information to 3 different partners in the exact same firm because the internal systems just don't talk to each other.
Oh, we all know that feeling. I mean, it is infuriating when you are just calling your internet provider and getting transferred between departments.
Exactly.
Imagine doing it when the actual survival of your business is on the line.
Right. Let's analyze the phrase the authors use here. Respect for the client's time.
Okay.
Disorganized communication doesn't just waste minutes. It creates a really heavy psychological burden.
For sure.
People usually don't hire lawyers because everything in their life is going perfectly.
No, usually it's the opposite.
Exactly. They are already dealing with massive stress, risk, and uncertainty. When a firm's systems are fragmented, they are actively adding administrative friction to an already incredibly stressful situation.
It's making it worse.
Yeah, and that friction completely overshadows the brilliant legal work happening in the background.
Because all the client actually remembers is the massive headache of trying to get a simple answer.
Exactly.
The solution outlined in this architecture is a unified client portal. A single, seamless digital interface where the client can log in at 2 a.m., view case milestones, securely upload sensitive documents, and settle invoices via digital payments.
Sounds like a dream.
Right. It is a tangible, visible reflection of a firm that is organized, modern, and deeply empathetic to the client's mental bandwidth.
It really acts as the ultimate proof of competence.
So what does this all mean? We've laid out the landscape, the existential threats, and the solutions for the 2026 standard. But how does a firm actually measure where they stand today?
Right, how do you know?
Exactly. How do you know if you are serving that Michelin star meal on a paper plate? The source material gets incredibly practical right here, offering 3 specific audit questions to compare the old school warning signs against the modern standard.
And these 3 questions are just a vital diagnostic tool for any professional's digital infrastructure.
So what's the first one?
The first category is interoperability.
Okay.
The old school warning sign is manual data reentry. Ask yourself, do our systems, like our billing software, our CRM, our document management, require us to type the exact same client information into 3 different programs?
Let's define CRM real quick for anyone outside the tech bubble. Customer relationship management software.
Right.
It's basically your firm's digital Rolodex and interaction tracker, and the manual data entry problem is essentially playing a corporate game of telephone.
Yes.
By the time the client's address is passed from the intake team to the paralegal to the billing department, it's misspelled or totally outdated.
And that's exactly why the 2026 standard requires tools that share data via APIs to create a single source of truth.
Right.
An API is really just the digital bridge that allows 2 different software programs to talk directly to each other.
Okay.
So instead of a game of telephone, an API is like putting all 3 departments in the exact same room, looking at the exact same, constantly updated whiteboard. It eliminates those errors and wasted time entirely.
That makes perfect sense. The second audit category is AI governance, which actually circles back to our shadow AI discussion earlier.
Yes.
The warning sign here is when a firm is just, playing it by ear with how staff uses generative tools.
Which is so dangerous.
Right. Relying on the hope that nobody does anything foolish is not a viable security strategy. The modern standard demands a formal, auditable AI governance policy locked inside that secure walled garden we talked about.
Absolutely. And the third question focuses entirely on client access.
Okay.
The red flag is when the file is something the client actively has to ask to see.
Oh, yeah.
If they have to send an email requesting an update, you've already failed the friction test. The 2026 standard dictates that the client has 247 secure, transparent access to their matter status without ever having to ask.
The text gives us this fantastic final analogy to kind of tie all of this architecture together.
It's a really good one.
You, as a professional, might be the absolute most brilliant passenger in the world. You have all the specialized knowledge, the tactical strategy, the long-term vision.
Right.
But if your delivery vehicle is a sputtering, rusted-out engine from 2015, you simply aren't getting to the destination. Your brilliance is completely trapped inside a broken machine.
Exactly.
The good news is that the sources point out this doesn't have to be like a solo engineering project. There are specialized resources out there, like moremax.net, that are explicitly designed to help firms navigate this exact transition, audit their systems, and actually rebuild that sputtering engine into something really high performance.
This raises an important question, though, and the authors address it directly in their concluding thoughts.
What's that?
With all this intense focus on automated portals and APIs and AI sentiment analysis doing the heavy lifting, is the lawyer themselves becoming obsolete? Are we really just building the robot replacements?
It's a fair question, but the research is incredibly adamant on this point. Absolutely not. Technology will never replace the nuanced judgment, the human empathy, and the sheer commanding courtroom presence that defines a truly great lawyer.
Never.
Tech is just an enabler. Its entire purpose is to strip away the friction, the manual donkey work, and the clunky communication so that the human brilliance can actually shine through completely unobstructed.
Right. It is entirely about letting you do the high-level work that only you can do.
Exactly. So, taking a step back to look at the whole picture we've covered today, we've seen how the prestige of the old mahogany boardroom has been entirely replaced by the seamlessness of the digital experience.
Right.
We've explored the hidden existential threat of shadow AI and why locking data in a walled garden is just the ultimate modern brand pillar.
Absolutely essential.
We broke down the death of the billable hour, shifting from a slow taxi to a high-speed bullet train by entirely eliminating the donkey work. And we explored the absolute necessity of the Amazon Prime client portal to remove all that psychological friction. Whether you are a lawyer, a client seeking premium services, or a professional in literally any high-stakes field, your digital delivery vehicle is your reputation. Take a hard look at your own professional digital footprint. Is your tech a differentiator that proves your competence, or is it a hidden tax that is just slowly eroding trust?
Looking at this perfectly frictionless, entirely automated digital future we are hurtling toward, it really makes me wonder about the long-term human reaction to all this perfection.
What do you mean?
Well, as legal tech becomes this flawless single source of truth, and every elite firm eventually achieves a state where, portals run themselves and AI handles all the data without a single dropped ball, Will we eventually see a massive cultural backlash?
Oh, interesting.
Right. If perfectly frictionless digital interaction becomes the cheap, ubiquitous baseline expectation, will clients in the 2030s begin to view raw, unscripted, completely offline, messy, face-to-face human interaction as the ultimate ultra-premium luxury in legal representation?
Wow. When digital perfection costs absolutely nothing, a completely unplugged conversation might become the most expensive thing you can buy.
Exactly.
That is a truly fascinating thought to chew on as we navigate this transition. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the architecture of modern excellence. Audit your delivery vehicle and make sure it is actually worthy of the brilliance it's carrying.